Hello, hello everyone. Yep, alright. We're good. So, I'm recording because here in the US, Christmas Eve is only 4 days away. I stopped enjoying Christmas long ago. Christmas stopped being enjoyable. At some point in time in life, I just stopped wanting things. Thought I didn't deserve it. Thought I wasn't worth it. A lot of other problems, shall we say. Part of it just comes up to, something that happened to me as a kid. For those of you who don't know, I have autism and ADHD. The ADHD isn't as relevant as it used to be, but the autism is still part of a cognitive thing that you just can't really shake. And so, at some point in time around the ages of 7 to 8, my behavior was not the best, apparently. And, my parents said, well, let's think about this for a minute. Behave better. They kept calling, they said, like, we kept telling you, but you wouldn't listen. You wouldn't listen. So we thought of things, and we thought of using a fear tactic, essentially. They thought about using a fear tactic, or striking fear into this child to cause them to behave better to the standard that they wanted out of that young child. Well, that's just not a good way of doing things. But they didn't do that just out of their own decision. They, from my understanding, from what they have shared, and with my own knowledge combined, I have an answer of, they went to doctors, they asked therapists in the at-home therapy team we had, during school days and everything, during school nights, to help with, the autism and ADHD, mainly the autism. Yeah. They asked, and everyone thought it would be a good idea to try it. And so it was acted upon. As far as I'm aware, once. But and that included, this is where my memories are really broken, and I can't quite perfectly understand the order of events. I have a rough idea of the time of events. Whether it's most accurate or not is hard to say, but as far as I'm concerned, I was at the bank with my mother one day, just in the drive-thru in our Ford Taurus wagon, GL trim, with a U engine. It was this kind of dark purplish color. It's front-wheel drive, from my understanding. This is information I've just obtained over the years. And I don't know what I said to my mother. She just snapped one day. As I was outside, she snapped. And she claims that this never happened. This never happened. Oh, that didn't happen. You're lying. I don't believe her. Why would I remember these things if it didn't happen? And so I sighed, and she snapped. She said, "That's it. We're going home." I kept asking what did I do, and she didn't want to talk to me. She had it. I don't know what I did wrong. Never understood. And we're driving, that's it. As soon as we left the bank. And then the next thing I know is that we're kind of packing up at home. Then I'm being forced to take the stuff out of my dresser, my clothing, and put it into trash bags or contractor bags. And she's telling me, she's standing off to my side, or, behind me off to my sides. My two sides, I'm off to my right, I can't tell. She's just generally, standing off to the side. I'm crying. She's going, "Don't call me Mom. Call me her real name." I'm not going to discuss that here because it's not important and is violating privacy, to which I do respect. Is privacy. And she's like, "Yeah, don't call me Mom, call me my real, call me this." And I can remember already knowing what her name was and my father's name was. Because my father's Dodge pickup truck, it was one of those, from my understanding now, it's one of those second-gen Dodge Rams with that has the brittle dash problem. On the little fold-down sun visor things with the mirrors or whatever, if it had them. I doubt it. It's a truck. Not something fancy, but there were 2 stickers with their names on them on one of the sun visors. White label with this red boundary with some sort of fancy squiggle design around it. And in black Sharpie, it had their names. It has his name and had her name, so I already kind of knew their names. But that's very frightening to a child. Not to a child who doesn't really have friends and who just had a hard time in 3rd grade, being forcibly transferred schools from one school to the other in the same district, because the district lied to them and was just being shady with the special education program and that set of students. Don't mind me, I'm just gotta move around a little bit, otherwise my body's gonna lock up a little bit. Then using the ankles might lock up a hair, and I don't want that. And so, yeah, I got to transfer schools, and it wasn't cool. Nobody knew me. The school bodies didn't like each other between 2 grade schools. And I practically cried every recess until the parents stepped in and set up a buddy system. This was before the abandonment thing. The abandonment was between 3rd and 4th grade. Probably during the nicer time of the year, so probably summer of after 3rd grade or summer right after 4th grade or somewhere in there. I can't say exactly. It's hard to try and pinpoint this information. And there's not a whole lot of information to work with. And so that happened, and I ended up crying. I felt already outed, and then they decided to do this. Which then scared me senseless. I had no friends yet. And 3rd grade was already rough enough, besides the whole crying in recess. The then head of the special education department at the school I was attending then, for 3rd grade on, was not the nicest person. She followed the 0 tolerance policy, but she went a little overboard with it. Now imagine you just make this symbol with your hand, you're going rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Bang. That gets you into trouble, I guess. Someone says something, and next thing you know, you're in the special education room, school room, in their bathroom / laundry room, and you're being told, think about what you've done. And you're standing there crying, not knowing what you've done wrong. I don't know what I did. This is a child who's not even self-conscious yet, more than likely. And you're doing this to them? Why? I guess you're curious now. There was self-consciousness. You know, when you go from being a kid to being a kid who's self-aware. That happened in the public library while playing Minecraft. I've realized we see in the first person, we have one life, and we can die. That scared me quite a bit. I don't know what age. Pick and choose your poison. Yeah, but this sort of education teacher would also then wrap you up like a mummy in a burrito, essentially, and practically restrain you from moving in everything. So, yeah. And then came the events where the big major trauma occurred of abandonment and scaring your child senseless, just for behavioral purposes, is not something I appreciate. I sit here and go every day. I think about things quite a lot, because currently I'm laid off, so I got a lot of time to sit here and just be at home and think, whether that's for good or for bad. But yeah, it's not great when they do that. Now, I do love my parents. I don't like them. I don't trust them 100%. I'm very cautious when it comes to them wanting information, including my sexuality. That is very private to me. I am never going to share that with them. Simply because I don't feel like being gaslit. I don't want that. I don't want my mother to try and gaslight me into something and trying to get me to believe something else that is not truthful information, or it's based off an assumption that she is making. I'll get into that later, but yeah, and as far as I can tell, there are other instances of me being scared by my parents. Oh, we're gonna have you pack your things and we're gonna send you off to grandma. Oh, we're gonna have you pack your things and we're gonna drop you off over by the fire station, the police department. What that first time is what they did is that they actually went through with it, but they didn't, fully abandon me. From the information that's been shared my mother dropped me off over on the corner by said school. You're a kid, you don't necessarily know how to get around the town. And she just drives away around the corner. According to her, she just went around the corner, just out of sight. I don't know any of that. It's just information that she's sharing, and I have to believe her in that. To help me fill in the missing blanks that I personally have. And I'm not a fan of it. She shouldn't have done it. You could have smacked your kid more. You could have spanked your kid. Could have used more physical discipline. It would have worked in the end, probably. Who knows? But the other times of, them kind of using that fear against you, they planted the seed and caused it to grow. And then eventually, as early as 4th grade, but as late as 5th grade, I started hearing voices calling out my name. A male and a female. And just the first name. Started off distant. At lunch during recess, no one actually called out your name. But you can hear them. You're walking around town, you hear it. You're riding your bike. On the bike trail, you hear it. You're at home, minding your own business. Your parents are just minding their own business, watching TV or something. You hear it, you go over to them, thinking someone there at home has called your name. And they just respond, no one called your name. And you go, okay. And you kind of ignore it. Now, here's the funny thing. Come 6th grade, there was a major developmental milestone achieved, or someone else, I guess I should say, knows that I have dissociative identity disorder. It is interesting. If you count me, there's 4 of us. I know I've just said there was a male and a female voice calling out my name. I'll get into detail on that as I go along here. Now, this is where things are going to get a little tough to talk about. And I know it. But I'm going to try and push through this. So, what happened in 6th grade is that apparently my grades improved dramatically and the homework started getting done before it came home and the such, and it carried over through middle school and into high school. Now, I know I said I had at-home therapy. That lasted up until, I guess, sometime in 6th grade. Up through 6th grade, and that was it. It was interesting. I don't know what happened. There were a few events in 6th grade that would dictate random things happening, although it could just be random bits of memory that are just broken because it's been a lot of years now. But there were 2 incidents with printers and the Macs. One was a laptop, and there was something going on, and I tried printing apparently, and there were just a lot of numbers, just because a lot of numbers. And you hit print, and there's a lot of American flags in black and white. It became the scratch paper. And then the second time is just I was in a computer lab, I guess, and we were doing something else on the computers. And I wanted to print 1 copy of something. And I did, but I guess I didn't ask permission. I got into trouble for that. I don't know, this is a kid still. I don't know why. But it kept printing more than 1 sheet. There was just a number 1. I hit print, unless a lot of other people hit print. Unless the computer program glitched out and the Mac glitched out or something. I don't know. I got into trouble for that. Uh, Another thing that happened is when we had a big snowstorm, a blizzard essentially, and they shut down the schools for a bit. They shut down school for the day. They closed down schools and called it a snow day. Now, I went out early in the morning to the local Walgreens, and I was interested in some Hot Wheels. I didn't have money. I had no concept of money. I just wanted Hot Wheels, I guess. And I'd done that once, I guess. I remember something about, I made off with a Hot Wheel once. I made off with this truck and trailer thing, I think. It was red or something. I don't know why I was interested in it. And that wasn't a big deal. Then that snow day happened, and I went out and I wanted more Hot Wheels. And so I tried stealing them. Now, I don't know what happened exactly next, because there's just a blank in the memory there. All I know is that I'm in a back room in an office. My father's there, and the police officer is there. And he tells this officer to, quote, "Take him away, officer." And it scares me. It scared me. I was already afraid. And again, like I said earlier, they planted a seed and they caused it to grow. I don't know what exactly happened next, but it's happened. And then sometime later on in life, this is all around grade school, 6th grade or earlier, 3rd to 6th grade. Keep that in mind. And so then, another time there was a classmate, and we went to the library. I didn't ask my parents. It's all in town. They didn't know where I went, though. And it was late, and I was like, oh, I gotta go. And my father found me, and apparently I didn't cross the street properly. I didn't check both ways on a major state-owned road that takes you, it's a very busy road, and it's a state-owned road. It's a state highway or something, And so, he found me, and I got into a lot of trouble. He took me home. He took me into the downstairs unit because we lived in duplexes. It's somebody else owns a house. There's a lower level with an address and an upper level with an address. We lived in the upper level. Nobody was downstairs at the time, and he was helping to refurbish it, I think, because there was painting supplies and everything. And he had me drop my pants, and he beat my ass until it was raw. And it hurt. There's a lot of issues with anger and frustration sometimes. In modern days, there was one instance where I snapped at my brother for no apparent reason. I grabbed him by the collar of his shirt. This is before he put on a lot of weight and he got really tall. I picked him up by the collar of his shirt. I should say he's my younger brother, not my older brother. Never met my older brother. He was adopted out. He was an accident. I learned that only a couple years ago. I don't know if my younger brother knows that he is the youngest of 3, technically, in terms of biological. But that's not something I'm gonna tell him. If he doesn't need to know, he won't get to know. So I picked him up against the collar by the collar of his shirt, and I pinned him up against the wall, and I said, because the thing is, he had a really bad habit of being a snitch. He would go to Mom about any little thing that upset him or he didn't like about me. And he'd go and rat me out. I'm like, I said, don't you ever snitch on me again, or something like that. Don't you ever rat me out again. I let him go. I didn't hurt him. I just snapped. For no apparent reason. I'm not sure what to do about it, but, that was then, and this is now. It's the year 2025. December 20th. At the time of recording. It's been a lot of years. Now, like I said, there was a male and a female voice. Now, flash forward a bunch of years, and it's high school. Sophomore to junior year of high school, you pick up a job in your local retailer owned by Kroger. And you are a minor still, and you work a 11 to 13 hour shift as a courtesy clerk, aka your bagger of your groceries, your cart getter. Take the groceries, unwanted groceries from the front end or front ends, depending on, if it's a multi-level grocery store or not. It's probably an uncommon thing, but limited retail space means they have to build up, not out. And so you work that much hours and you come home. And at some point in time, I had forgotten about all that past information. I couldn't remember it. It wasn't on my mind any longer. I was much older, though. And I came home, and I just got into my bed, and I broke down. A lot of information came flooding in. And I cried, and they came and were like, what's going on? And I told them stuff. And they tried comforting me, but, I eventually calmed down. But then, at some point in time after that, and whatever long it was, I started working with that male voice, because he stopped calling out my name at some point. But the female voice never stopped until this year. Yeah, it's been a lot of years now. And it took a long time to work with her. But then, tracking maxed up for a moment. It'll happen. So yeah, eventually I started switching out with that mail board at work. I can't necessarily pinpoint when, but I can certainly say probably front end work to just after I switched to the ClickList department, or formerly known as ClickList, now known as the pickup department, because of course they had to rebrand the service for whatever reason. And I sat there and I trained him on things. And I'd go into receiving and I'd sit there and if anyone knows that Naruto scene where he's practically inside the seal, and he's talking with Kurama, and he sits there and he twists and he opens up the gates for Kurama. It's the best way I could describe what I would do sometimes. I would insert the key, essentially, unlock the gates, and push them free. Or I just do this, I'd stretch out my arms, and there'd be this minor sensation, and then we would switch out. Or he would provide energy boosts when I needed them. So, yeah. His name? Fox, at the time. A very simplistic kind of nickname, essentially. He now goes by Fox, and as a more appropriate name, because, we're able to interact more freely and not just remembering things in a very limited scenario inside of the workplace and doing very limited stuff. Yeah. So that was a thing. And he's never been bad. He's pretty good. He does crave alcohol, though. I can't talk much about that, as I personally do not like alcohol. I think that ties into apparently to a story my father has told me many a times. As a kid, before my uncle died, he was an alcoholic. And he came to where we're living now, and he was apparently passed out on the couch. And we were here, and I go, "Daddy, who's that?" He goes, "That's your uncle." My response is, "Daddy, he scares me." Now, you can imagine this Caucasian man, I don't know how old, but he's looking like a hobo, passed out on the couch. As a little kid, you're not going to know what that is. And he thought that was a good thing. He wouldn't have to worry about me having alcohol ever. But I can't say anything personally. I personally haven't had any alcohol. I really want to stay clear of it. I am actually kind of scared about tonight. Foxen's kind of craving that alcohol again, and he may or may not have gone out and purchased a bottle of Crown Royale at 35%. And I'm kind of worried about that tonight. Others are on deck. Shall we say they're on... Well, I say on deck because I'm used to that term. Because I did the theatrical side of things in high school. I didn't do drama. I helped with the stage crew. I helped build the theatrical sets. Hands-on work. Carpentry, essentially. And... so yeah, that was a thing. And... I don't know what I was gonna say there, I'm sorry. Either I forgot or I'm being blocked to some extent on that. It's annoying. But yeah. I worked with that male for a lot of years. I worked with Foxen for a lot of years. Up until a couple years ago when things kind of got quiet and I forgot things again. To some extent, not as much as I had before, but stuff had been forgotten. Bless you, sweetheart, that's my cat. My pet cat. To be very specific here. If you really want to know what Foxen looks like, imagine this anthropomorphic sort of fox normally. But let's just say a fox for basic standards, because we can choose what exactly we want to be presented as, depending on how much energy we have, and how much load we really want to be putting on the mind. So let's just say natural state, natural fox. But he's this kind of blackish gray fox. Mainly kind of brown. He's got like this very light brown base shade. And he's got these patches like a cat, but they're like spotted like a Dalmatian. In terms of like spotted around him. They're not big splotches like a cat though. They're kind of wavy though, so But he's got these red eyes, a black chin. Chin fur is all black. So his base color is like this kind of light brown. But his patches of fur have like this gray, black, and like this kind of goldish color, I guess, like a really light brown. Now, kind of like a calico to a tuxedo kind of vibe. And he's my number 2. I am 1, he is 2. Essentially, in terms of, going to things, if I am overworked or stressed about something, he'll probably be the one to be out and deal with the scenario. Now, as I said, it was up until this year that I met the female. But also earlier this year is when everything re-engaged. We had this dream of him and his quite literal wife now. Well, at the time, not married. Because yes, that is something they can do. And her name? Well, apparently her name started with an E. That's all we could get. And that took 2 attempts, and she was initially very shy and very much an introvert. Now she's come out of her shell quite a lot. And she's this very dominant, but not like, I'm the boss of you kind of dominant, but a very dominant kind of lady. She will take charge of him if she needs to. Shall we say. She's got these green eyes, and she's like, let me look at something. I can't even look at something right now. I don't know. She's like this really light shade of like this golden brown, but like really light. And she's one color, but her eyes are this beautiful shade of green. The best way to describe them is like an emerald green. How fit is she? She's not fat. She's average. She's not fat. She's not skinny. She's healthy looking. Oh, what's her chest and what's her back end? I'm like, average. Wouldn't say small. Wouldn't say enormous. And, oh yeah, I forgot. But when we're like this, I'm about 5'10". Foxen's about 6 foot. Alara is about 5'6". So we're kind of just like, as an example, Now, I did have those random anger things, because you could have asked my parents, "Oh, does your son ever get angry? Does he get angry about things?" And they go, "No, he doesn't get angry." Well, I kind of mask a lot to make sure I always seem happy. Nothing's ever wrong, even if things are wrong and things are bugging me. It just keeps people from asking you questions, and it makes sure everyone else is happy and you don't get into trouble. I remember something. This is what I wanted to talk about. I'm gonna backtrack a little bit here. To the high school area. One night, I was just home and it was late and I was sleep deprived a bit. And I was remembering things and I just broke down a bit in front of my mother. And I didn't have all the pieces to the puzzle obviously yet, but I'm like, what? Why didn't you just abandon me completely? You had the chance. And she's like, that never happened. I'm like, but it did. And she got really angry about it. That's not true. And don't you dare go telling your friend. Don't go dare telling her about this either. She got up real close and she said that kind of like, don't you dare go telling your friend either. I'm not using my former friend's name. I'm not friends with her anymore. And I don't really care. It's not that I don't like her or I didn't like her. It was just a big misunderstanding in regards to her being in a foul mood and me trying to be there to be supportive for her when she was depressed and trying to comfort her, and she took it as my gesture of kindness as a gesture of, it's okay that person's dead. You don't gotta worry about that. When instead I tried being nice, I put my arm over her shoulder. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay now. You're okay now. You know, she got close to a store manager. She got close to a store director, and he was a workaholic. And he apparently had a brain aneurysm one day at home in his apartment. And she blames herself for not being able to save him because they literally went to his apartment because they didn't show up for work one day. Her and a couple of other managers and or corporate people went to his apartment, but they didn't enter because, they didn't have the legal permission to do so. They could have just called a wellness check from a law enforcement if they needed to, but they didn't think about that, I guess. And so she blames herself for that, and it was an anniversary upon that man's death that day. And I snapped because I had spent a lot of money to take us to the state fair. I drove all the way out to downtown from home here, and I paid for my fuel. I paid for the fuel to get out to her, take her out to the park. I paid for her entry. I paid for parking. I paid for our rides, ticket things. I spent over $100. And she's like, I'll talk to you when I'm ready. At this point, I had a smartphone. I didn't really know much about them. I didn't get a phone until college. And it was an LG Wine flip phone. And, yeah. And so then, fast forward a bunch of years now, and the female's name is Elara, Elara. And there's one other that I met quite recently within the last month or so. His name is Bourbon. He holds a lot of anger. Elara had to teach him some manners. Because of reasons, I guess. He just has that much, and he was kind of rude. He behaves a lot better now. But that doesn't mean anything. In his form, he chose a calico cat. I think it's because he interacted with my actual pet cat. And she was one causing a lot of frustration for me at the time. And he just decided to choose the form of a cat. Because before that, I had no clue he existed. or what he looked like. And then just one day, all of a sudden, one night I have a dream in sequence, and it's like I'm chasing him around, but I don't know what he looks like, although I'm chasing him around this circle. And there was this scream of pain and agony or frustration, just unrest and unwellness. He didn't seem happy. And then, fast forward, I'm at work and minding my own business, and I'm thinking about plans. I'm just thinking aloud, and he just says, like, can I use these words? I'm like, I can. No, I can't. I can use abbreviations. He says, F you and your plans and everything else. And he's just minding his own. He's just not happy. And like I said, Lara taught him manners and everything, and so he's doing a lot better now. And I asked him, next time I had a sequence during a sleep cycle with him, I was chasing him or something, we just playing a little game of chase, and I asked him, what is your name? Or we were just talking maybe, and it was just like, I got to ask two questions, like a two-parter question. What is your name, and or what would you like to be called? He paused. He responded, Bourbon. You could call me Bourbon. For now. But he's stuck with it, so he hasn't changed that name. I guess he wasn't quite certain himself about a name, or even letting me know that he existed. And then came a very big energy draining event, and I was just overexhausted. And I had some visions occur of what would happen if I personally did not disengage from being in control for like a extended period of time, say a day. That's a long time to be out as the host, and instead of taking care of the day-to-day needs, you just decide to you need some rest, recharge. And on the way home, on the drive, all of a sudden Fox goes, oh yeah, by the way, he's a calico cat. I'm like, oh, interesting. He'll hold a grudge. Right now he's got a grudge against someone else on this platform in a game, so I'm not too worried about it. It's all in the name of sports and games. The sport of the game, essentially. I really don't care. As long as he's not causing problems, I really don't care too terribly much. And then there's me. You can call me Ski or Super Ski, whatever you'd like. Doesn't matter. But yeah. We are functionally a whole. But can you tell who's part of an original splitting event and or formation? And then who's of a later one? Who's chose his form much later in life? 3 foxes and a cat. Well, fox is more of a fox-wolf mix kind of deal. Just in the way he looks. I'd give him, because he's kind of, he's taller. Foxes aren't very big. But wolves are pretty big creatures. I attribute some of his height to him being part wolf. But yeah. I think that's about it. This is not as bad as it's been in the past in terms of me just recording myself. I might actually upload this one.